Hey, this is James. And today we're going to fetch API data and then apply it to sheets here. With so, we're going to use the Open Trivia database as an example and the class URLFetchApp from the Google Developers Workspace. So in AppScripts itself, we can go, or the sheet itself, we can go to Extensions, AppScripts, and open up a new AppScript. And I'm going to rename it to Fetch API Data. All right. So first, we're going to actually need the URL. So here I go to API, and then I can generate an API URL, which you'll see the results of which is going to give you a response code and then results as objects inside of it, or keys. And then you'll have a giant array of objects with the 10 questions we requested. So we're going to go ahead and grab this URL, delete here, and call something, create a variable called URL here. Then we'll also need to access the spreadsheet, or at least point app scripts to target this spreadsheet and sheet itself, which I'm going to call trivia questions. To do so, I'm going to create a variable called SS and do spreadsheet app get active spreadsheet. Or another way I can also do this is to use the ID here. So you'll see that there's an ID here, and I can do open by ID or open by URL, but I believe either one of these ways is going to be a lot better than by opening by the URL. All right. And then I'm going to need to target the sheet itself, which is going to use the SS and then get sheet by name, which we called trivia questions. All right. So if I create a function called getData, and I create something called response, and I'm going to use the URL class, FetchApp class here, and fetch the URL. All right. We'll also get a response back. So if you see here, I'm going to use console.log, hit play. Since it's my first time running it, I'm going to have to authorize it. If I click review permissions, go to my email here, and though it says Google hasn't verified app, that's because we're not on a business or enterprise account. I can just go to advanced and then go to the name of the script here and allow everything. All right, you'll see there's really nothing here, so we're actually going to need to get the content text, which is going to be this content text here. All right, so I can actually just do get content text, and you'll see right here we got everything. But we'll also need to parse this. This is a JSON object that was responded to us. I'll go ahead and create another variable called data, and I can do response, or sorry, JSON.parse response. And then we can check again. And then you'll see we have category, type, difficulty, question, correct answer, and incorrect answer as the keys. So what we can do here is I'm going to create a header just in case, so we know what's what once we apply it to the spreadsheet. And with that, I'll also need to grab the results. So and ignore this response code, which we can do here. So I'm going to make data equals data.results, and then you can look again here. Then now we just have the array of objects starting here. All right, so to actually loop through it, we're going to create an array and then loop through it, which we can do with data.forEach. I'm going to call this item and create a little function here. And then I'm going to push the items to the array. So I'll do array.push, and we're actually going to need to open up the array because each one should be a row, and then the contents of the array will be the column items. And a good, easy way to format all of this is you can right-click and then go to Format Document. All right, let's grab those items. So item.category is going to be our first one. Then we got item.type, difficulty, correct answer. And then since the result here, you'll see that incorrect answers in another array, I'm going to go ahead and join it just to make it easier for us to All right, so we'll have incorrect answers, And I'm just going to actually just join it with a comma. All right, so this should be all the items we need for the array. And with that, we can check the response. I'm going to comment out the console log up here, just so we don't get confused. And now we can see that they're all in an array and also in their own individual arrays. So with that, what we want to do is append the batch of items or the array itself under the last item. So if I had a trivia question here, I'm going to want to go to row 3 and not replace row 2. So to do so, I can do sheet.getRange and go to the next row. So I can do sheet.getLastRow, which will point us to row 1 here. And then I'm going to add one to say now go to 2, since there's an item in 1. Then I'm going to start at the column, and the number of rows, and then the number of columns is going to be next. So the number of rows, we can do array.length, which should be 10, so that we know that we're going to need to apply to 10 rows down here. And then to grab the length of what's inside the array. So we have a length of 6, and we can just point it at the first item in the array, or first array in the array, and get the length of that, and then set the values to the new array. So if I let me go ahead and hit save and hit run. Alright, so now we have some items, and if we click play again, we should get another 10, and it shouldn't replace these two, just because we have this sheet.getLastRow. Alright, and that's how you're going to actually fetch data from an API. There are other methods and some that would require an API token, and in there you would actually have parameters, and you'll see down below here you can have different things like the API key in the header or something similar. But this is the most basic version. Thank you.